when you fear. There's no easy way to hear. And all the memories you love to bring, with all the things that you hate to scream. So tell me, hollow on the inside, there's no trying to hide from this monster inside me. So if you try to criticize me like the world defines me, image of what I have become.
We're eating dubs, baby. James Winston. Oh my goodness, Derek. Where do we even start with this? Like, just what do we even say? Like, I mean, I can't even say I'm shocked.
Whose
because-
fault is it? That's what I would like to ask.
Yes.
Whose fault is
Whose
it?
fault is it that this didn't happen
Whose fault
sooner?
is it?
That this didn't happen sooner, right? And that's certainly an angle of this that we'll get to. But man, Jameis Winston today was just unbelievable. Unbelievable the levels of quarterback play. Derek, I'll let you go into it first because I know you've got all the stats and I know you've got everything that you want to talk about all lined up and organized. I'm all over the board. So, Derek, talk to me, man. Jameis Winston in today's ball game.
This is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. And boy, oh boy, we were rejoicing today because that man went out on that football field today and absolutely lit it up. Jameis Winston, 27 of 41, 334, 3 touchdowns. Now, it is noted, or I should say it should be noted, that Jameis Winston very easily could have thrown a lot of picks today. But you know what? He did not. He did not. And you can say what you want. You know, you can say whatever. I would like to think old Jimmy Donovan had a hand from heaven in knocking some of those balls out because this was quite a special day. And Tristan, for me, we watched the film. And there's a lot of people who say, oh, turn on the film. I don't know about you, but for me, I like to slow it down frame for frame. And when we've done that throughout the course of this season, what we've seen is guys are open. A lot of the pressure and the issues on the offensive line, while they are there, they are self-induced by the quarterback. And the Browns just simply don't pass downfield. And it doesn't mean we can't, because guess what? Today, we had 4 receivers over 60 yards. Over 60 yards. And a lot of that was the downfield passing game. That's not because we couldn't do it before. That's not because of a game plan change, which we will get into because there was a change there. It was because we had a quarterback who, for whatever reason, mentally could not handle taking risks, could not throw downfield. Jameis comes in there. He doesn't care. He could care less if he's being risky. And he's just slinging it. And while he could have had some picks, he didn't. And Tristan, this was the first 200-plus passing game all year for the Browns. This is the first 20-point-plus passing, or 20.
I'm going to correct you. We haven't had a 200-yard passing game yet.
You're right.
We've only had 100s and 300s.
Yep. You're right.
We haven't had a 200-yard passing game yet.
Oh, man. It's like, it is absolute insanity when you put it into perspective. And boy, do I have a stat for you, Tristan. Are you ready for this one? Completions on 15-plus yard throws downfield. Okay. Through the season, Deshaun Watson has had 9. Today, Jameis Winston, 8. So, I mean, listen, man, I'm not trying to hate on Deshaun Watson. I hope he recovers. I hope he has a speedy recovery. Wish him nothing but the best. But with all due respect, if you were somebody who consistently stated that Deshaun Watson was not the problem, I'm going to need you to go to your bathroom right now, turn on the light, and look yourself in the mirror for a minimum of 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes of some self-reflection. And I want you to think about the clown makeup that you put on every morning, your red nose, your red paint, and I want you to think about the work that you have done carrying the history of number 4 from 4 or 5 years ago and trying to convince yourself day in and day out that he was not the problem. Because I watched a quarterback today, Tristan, who has bounced around the NFL. Obviously, he has the talent. But I watched him come into an offense that could not do anything. Literally historically bad offense throughout the first weeks of the season. And he comes in and throws 334, 3 touchdowns. So please explain to me how it's not Deshaun Watson's fault. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse while he's down. But man, it feels good. It feels good to finally have these idiots have to eat their words. And I don't want to keep rambling because I know we're going to talk about the receivers at some point in this podcast. But Tristan, last thing I want to say before I send it over to you. Do you notice today how the ball was being spread around? Do you notice how we didn't have one read plays and how you had a quarterback who, yet while getting the ball out quickly, progressed through his reads, made tight passes, or I should say completed passes in tight windows, took risks, took shots, let his playmakers do the best that they could. Tristan, something called an Elijah Moore had 8 receptions, 85 yards today. When's the last time we've seen Elijah have a game like that? I mean,
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And we'll get to those receivers. Here's where I'll start with this, okay? Because I think that the way you finished it was a good way for me to kind of bridge it. I'm going to address those who still held out hope for Watson. Certainly, I was one of those until the Washington game. The Washington game, that was it. That was it for me. I was out after that. Some arguments I'm seeing going around was the offensive play calling, right? It was much better, right? The switch from Stefanski to Dorsey was what allowed this offense to flourish, and that is why the offense looked better today. Derek, do me a favor. Forget the play callers' names. Let's just roll the tape of that Thursday night football game against the Jets and this game. Mm-hmm. Let's roll them side by side, and you tell me what the differences were. This was a cut and dry, the same thing, word for word, bar for bar, the same offense that we were running last year, at the end of last year, with Joe Flacco. This is the same offense. It's running the football, right? It's play action, a lot of play action, and just chucking the ball deep, right? Being aggressive. That's what this football team is, right? That's what this football team is now, and that's what it's going to be the rest of the season. And this is the exact offense that Kevin Stefanski rolled out last year. So there's nothing that's changed there, right? That's the first argument. The second argument I've been hearing is, well, the offensive line played a lot better, right? The offensive line play was so much better. Fair enough, right? Fair enough, which, listen, we will get to the offensive line because there was a very, very good move that was risky coming into it, but ended up paying off and looking really good. We'll get into it.
Stevie Wills was not on the field. That's all I want to say.
But here's two arguments that I'll throw back at you for anybody that's saying, well, the offensive line was better today, so that's why Winston looked good and Watson would have looked the same, right? There's two things. Number one, Jameis Winston was getting the ball out quick, right? There certainly were plays where he was holding on to the football, letting the play develop downfield. But the reason why we were able to do that was because we didn't have a quarterback abandoning the pocket when it was clean, and he stuck in there, and his offensive linemen didn't have to worry about the quarterback moving and losing their leverage, right? And that certainly helped clean some stuff up for sure. But the big thing is with Jameis Winston today, Derek, was like there was the threat of being able to complete a deep ball, which he did multiple times in this game, which opened up a lot more of the short stuff. And like it made the checkdowns more effective, right? And that's where the biggest difference is between Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson, because Jameis Winston's able to get the ball down the field, and it's able to be very, very effective. Now with Jameis Winston, you're gonna get that turnover-worthy play percentage to be higher, right? But at the same time, the good that he can give you, absolutely, in our situation, that definitely outweighs the negatives, because this defense, which we'll get into that as well, it's good enough to make up for those mistakes, right? And erase those mistakes. This offensive line, the biggest reason why it played better was because the quarterback stayed in the pocket, didn't run into pressure, and also when the play was designed for a short, quick read, he made a short, quick read, and he got the ball out. I thought all around, Jameis Winston helped the offensive line tremendously today, and I think that something that we'll also get into when we talk about the play calling switch, there was also another huge factor into why this offensive line played better today, because there's a lot to get into with that. But the biggest thing with this, right? Obviously, Jameis Winston balled out today. Yes, he absolutely. You could argue, like, if you're on the defending Watson side of it, right? You could argue, well, if Kyle Hamilton didn't drop that pick, would we really care? The answer is still yes, because it was a very, very exciting and fun game. All right, and I literally going into this game, I was saying to my friends, I do not care if we lose. I just want to feel something when the offense is on the field. Just something. Give me something. And I got more than something today, Derek. I got everything. Oh my gosh, Derek. But
you went to the Winston buffet today. You got great, you got risky, you got my gosh, what was that? You got
Bro, let me customize a jersey. Call me Big Back, bro. I got filled on that Winston buffet today, okay? Listen. Hey, that actually sounds terrible. Pause. All right. Anyways.
And you're getting clipped.
I'm getting clipped. Damn it. All right. Anyways, so let's. Oh no! I didn't realize. Anyways, let's just move on.
Say hello to the TikTok audience, will you?
Oh, hi TikTok. Anyways, but there is no argument for Deshaun Watson at this point. It's clear it doesn't work. We operate best when we're able to just throw the football deep. We're able to threaten. There, you're gonna make me laugh, man. Stop. Oh man. All right. But
he said hello TikTok.
Oh man, that's so bad. Oh, anyways, let's talk. Let's keep talking about this. So, there's just no argument for Watson at this point. There is none. Certainly, other aspects of the team played a lot better today, but a lot of that was because of Jameis Winston, and you would be doing a great disservice to him and what he was able to do today by not highlighting that. And I just think that, when I look at Derek, you can't laugh, bro. You're gonna make me laugh. You can't do this, man. Get it? Stop. All right. Winston. All right. So, yeah, there's just no more argument for Deshaun Watson. I'll leave it there. Right. The receivers, the other argument was that the receivers played a lot better today, which was why, which was why Winston looked so good and they were actually catching the ball and all that stuff. Like, no, that's not why. It's because just Jameis Winston was able to actually hit a deep ball, was able to be threatening down the field. It allowed more space for those intermediate and short routes, and we were able to get a lot more from that. So that's what the biggest change was today. And this all goes on to Jameis Winston's shoulders. He did a fantastic job today. He deserves all the credit for that. And this needs to be a template for what type of quarterback are we going to look for as the next quarterback. I will say this right here, right now. If Jameis Winston keeps this up throughout the rest of the year, you're extending him, right? You're extending him. You're keeping him here in Cleveland for at least another couple years, right? At least.
Do we want to dive into this now? Because, boy, I got something to say on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been kind of yapping for a little while now, so yeah, I'll pass this back to you, Jameis. Jesus, I'm all over the place. I was looking at Jameis's name on my phone and I just said it. But I'll pass this back to you, Derek. What were your talk to me about that aspect of Jameis today? Where do we go forward from here?
I think this team's future at the quarterback position is very easily laid out. And that is all riding on if this type of quarterback play continues. If Jameis comes out, and I'm not saying puts up 300 yards by any means every game, but I'm saying if Jameis Winston comes out and gives you 200 plus passing, 1 to 2 touchdowns, and even a pick. If he can come out and play competent quarterback play, he played great today. It wasn't even just competent. It wasn't just good. It was great. If he can put a good to solid performance at quarterback for you from here on out, and we're not going to win every game. I had this discussion, before I came in here to do this. We were talking about the future. We're not going to win every game. We're going to win some games. We're going to win a couple more. Do I think we're going to put ourselves in the drafting in the 20s? No. Do I think we're going to put ourselves into drafting in the 15s? No. I think we're still going to have a top 10 pick. I would say at worst, as far as draft selection wise, I think we're going to be hovering around 10. I think the path is laid out easily, Tristan. I think if Jameis Winston plays the way he did today or around this way, you absolutely learn from your mistake you made with Joe Flacco. You extend Jameis Winston. And this is just my opinion. You take your quarterback. I don't care how high. I don't care who. You take the guy that you believe is this team's future. You draft him, and you have a great mentor in Jameis Winston. You have a guy who is a solidified leader. This team was in hell, Tristan, and you had a guy who was a solidified leader even through that hell as the backup who comes in and has a great game. If this is the Jameis Winston that we're looking at, I'm not saying it's totally off the table that he can be the starting quarterback for the future, but what I'm saying for sure is you have your guy. You have your bridge guy, whether if that means sit a whole year, whether if that mean half a season next year, whether if that mean a couple games. Who knows? When the time is right, the time is right. And in my opinion, Tristan, we're going to dive into it as time goes on who the quarterback should be for the Browns. And my opinion has changed a little bit on some of these guys. But nevertheless, point being, the Browns, I think, have been gifted a second chance. You've been gifted a second chance and the opportunity to do what you should have done last year and have a guy who plays well for you come in. And what you have been mentioning all the time, Tristan, of the Patrick Mahomes route, the Jordan Love route, the Browns hypothetically, if need be, if all goes well, could be in that spot where you take a guy who maybe is a little bit reckless, and a lot of these guys are in this draft, and you could sit them and develop them and learn and grow within the offense. Tristan, I think that's the path we're on. And I don't want to go too far deep into the offensive line, but I'll just say this right now. If this left tackle play continues with DeJuan Jones, left tackle's figured out. DeJuan Jones is your left tackle for the future. Right tackle with Jack, there's some questions there, and what do we do there? Okay, fair enough. But as far as we got to get a left tackle in the first round, in my opinion, those discussions at the time being, we set them aside. Because for me, Tristan, I'm looking at it, and I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, okay, well, then you go receiver. Then you go right tackle. Then you go whatever. Some people want to go running back. Like, there's a lot of different directions you could go. However, let's be realistic, Tristan. And this is what I'm talking about. I said there's a chance that this team is a 10-plus win team next year. Why did I say that? And why did you agree with me? What we did today is the reason. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just optimism. We're probably not going to have a pick this high for a couple years. Just me, just my opinion. Way too early to say that. Take your quarterback. Take your quarterback. I don't care if it's Cam Ward, Shador. I don't care if it's Milrow, Al, or whoever, right? And I certainly have opinions on all of these guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying draft those guys. But whoever the Browns and whoever Stefanski, Barry look at and say, that's our guy. That's our guy. Go get your guy. You have the luxury of having somebody that can sit ahead of them and not just be a good player on the field for you, but also off the field. What it looks like to be a leader, what it looks like to be a mentor. Dude.
Somebody just take the pressure off of a rookie quarterback's shoulders.
Yeah.
And just let him learn and mold and develop. Like, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you all the way. And I'll let you finish your thought unless if you were all done. But
no,
yeah,
the only other thing I wanted to say, and this might be a potential foreshadow into a future discussion, is Tristan, I got a interesting question for you. Who would you say was the last best consistent quarterback for the Cleveland Browns?
The last best consistent quarterback?
Mm-hmm. Think old.
I mean, well, Joe Flacco, but I mean, I don't know if you would consider that because you knew what you were getting from him every game. And that was very consistent. As far as who is the best consistent quarterback, oh geez, I'm struggling.
I'm gonna give you a hint. Michael Cozy has a sign with this man's name on it.
I'm losing.
Do you not know that one?
I might not. I'm losing it. So you got to remember, I became a Brownies fan. First year of Hugh Jackson was my first year, and I know quite a bit of Browns history. I don't know especially the.
This is the only hint I'll give you, and then I'll just straight up tell you. Mm-hmm. You matter.
You matter.
Bernie Kosar.
Bernie, okay, all right. Well, I obviously know Bernie, but like I wasn't like, it wasn't ringing. If you would have said Cardiac Kids, I would have said, oh Bernie, okay. I got it. You know.
So, let me ask you, Tristan. Let me just throw it out there. Where did Bernie go to college?
Bernie Kosar. He went to college. Oh my goodness. It was it University of Miami? Right? Are you about to make a Cam Ward pitch? Oh, all right.
I'm just saying.
All right.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say to all that, right? So, first things first. Derek, you said a rough estimate of where we're picking. If Jameis Winston keeps this up throughout the end of the year, who knows where we'll be. We just beat one of, if not the best teams in football, and we got 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. Now, albeit probably should have had a couple picks in there, right? But I expect him to actually like kind of phase that out a little bit more as the season goes on. Those really bad turnover-worthy plays, especially that one throw to Elijah Moore, that I see is just rust, right? Like, Jameis Winston can hit that throw, and we see that, and we've seen it this game. He can hit that throw. He clearly overthrew it just because it was a high like energy moment. Like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but you know, and it's clear he just put too much on the football, adrenaline. His adrenaline was running high. He just put too much on the football, right? And I expect as he plays a little bit more these next couple weeks, that's going to go away. The big thing for me is a margin of 2. I need a margin of 2. If you're throwing 2 touchdowns, you can't throw any picks, right? If you're throwing 4 touchdowns, you can throw 2 picks, right? I need that margin of 2. I need that 14-point margin because this defense can make up for that. That this defense can make up for. If you're throwing 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, oh, now you're getting a little bit, now that's a bit worrisome, right? But the margin of 2, that's what I'm saying with Jameis Winston here. If he can keep it to that, we're fine. The other thing I'll say is, Derek, if he's able to keep this up, who knows what we're going to do. We play the Chargers next, and the Chargers cannot overlook them. They are a good football team. Jim Harbaugh has come in there. He's instilled the run.
Boo that man when he comes into Cleveland. Boo that man.
But he's installed the run really, really well. That offensive line, he's renovated, and it looks great. And then obviously you've got Justin Herbert, and that defense is playing well. I mean, the Chargers are almost like a replica of the Ravens. Like the Harbaugh Renaissance replicas, like that's what this is, right? And you can see, like, okay, yeah, I see that. Like, as far as, like, they're just so similar, and no wonder why J.K. Dobbins is thriving in L.A. because it's a Baltimore style system. So yeah, it's regardless, right? It's not going to be an easy game, but again, if you repeat the performance, that you got from your quarterback in that game, I'm very confident and comfortable saying that we would win. And then we got a bye, and then we got the Saints, and they're not looking hot right now. Obviously, Derek Carr is going to come back, so we'll see what that looks like. But, that would be our next opponent. And then after that, now you're talking Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's always a coin flip. But my point is this, is if he plays at this level, don't put a ceiling on where this team can go, right? At the end of the day, and I hate to get too far ahead of myself here, but I feel like it's not crazy to say this. If this team can get a ticket to the dance, who knows? Who knows? That's what I'm saying. Now, the road to there, it's incredibly hard. But again, we just beat one of the best teams in football, and it was Jameis Winston's first start. So the play that we've been getting from some of these guys, and we'll talk about it, if we get 2 more losses, I'll call the season quits. But I've got some optimism. I gotta be honest here. I got some optimism. I'm not ready to quit yet because I've seen this team have some miracles before, and I didn't expect that when we traded Amari Cooper, and this is what it comes down to. I didn't expect that when we traded Amari Cooper, we'd get better production from our receivers. I was not expecting that. And that's what we've gotten.
But there's a reason.
Yes, but there's also another reason, right? There's two sides to that coin. But regardless, this football team, I've got a small little candle in a dark basement, and that's my hope. That's my hope, and unfortunately, it's still there. I said a couple weeks ago, we had to pull the trigger because we had one more bullet in the chamber. We pulled our trigger. So far, I don't know, Derek. It looks like we're 200 yards out, but it looks like it's hitting the target. So, I know it sounds crazy to say this right now, but this football team that we saw today, this was the football team we saw last year. This was that football team. And that football team, I would never count out. And so that's the same mentality I'm going to have towards this one. So it sounds crazy to say it. It does. And it is. I'll probably come back and look at this and say, like, oh, Tristan, you idiot, you gullible person. Like, you really thought. But, I don't care. I don't care. Right now, it feels like a possibility. And yeah, man, it's so crazy It's just so crazy. And the only thing, and I was telling you this before we started recording, if we lose and we've got an early draft pick, okay, fine. I'll live with that. If we win a lot of football games, we end up squeaking into the playoffs, I'll be great with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll be the most upset with is if we finish 1 or 2 games out and we're looking back and we're saying, man, if only we would have switched quarterbacks after the Washington game. We could have beaten the Eagles. We could have beaten the Bengals.
Yeah.
What does it look like then? Right? That's the only thing that scares me about the remainder of this season is that what if, right? And I just hope it doesn't bite us, but knowing us, it will. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say about Jameis, outside of just incredible arm talent, great accuracy in certain moments. Like, just, yeah, I'm so happy.
Dude, I love everything about Jameis Winston. Like, I know there's a lot of people who are put off by him, but like, I love him.
Well, and the other thing is like, it's shown that this team plays better when they're in shootouts. Like that's our defense. What is our defense best with? Defending the pass. So if we have to force teams to keep up with us, it plays into our hand. Yeah. And that's what we did last year. And that's what happened in this game. Baltimore was playing catch up with us. Like, think about what I just said, Derek. One of the best teams in football was playing catch up with us.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, come on. There's some hope. There's some hope. I'll leave it there.
I have to say, and this is going to be absolutely absurd, but when you were saying the candle in the basement, all I pictured was like Kevin Stefanski trying to pull out his gun, right? Because you said we had that bullet.
Yeah.
He's trying to pull out the gun, but the gun goes off on its own, and it wasn't him like shooting it. He's like pulling it out, and it just goes off. And at the end of this basement is Freddie Kitchens standing there holding this candle with a Pittsburgh Did It shirt on, just with some stupid grin on his face. I don't ask me why.
What are you on? Like, are you okay?
Joy and happiness thanks to the Cleveland Browns finally being back in our lives.
One win and we already have lucid dreams. This is crazy. Like, okay. Just we forgot what it felt like to win and look good.
Yeah.
All right.
I know. Maybe we shouldn't win. Like, we'd start thinking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
The ghosts of Browns past coming back to haunt us.
All right. Well, let's move on.